My beloved child, I need you to stop what you are doing right now and listen to the gentle whisper of my voice. There is a reason this message has intercepted your path today, at this very hour, in this exact moment of your life. I know how heavy the silence in your room feels when the sun goes down. I see you when you are alone, sitting at your kitchen table with papers spread out before you, scanning numbers with eyes that have grown dim from years of watching, waiting, and worrying. You look into the mirror and you see the deep lines etched upon your forehead. The world tells you those are just signs of biological aging, but I know the truth. Those lines are the physical map of your silent calculations. They are the visible marks of the sleepless nights you spent wondering how to stretch what little you have, fearing the day when the resources might completely run dry. You feel a tightness in your chest, a sudden shortness of breath when the mailbox clicks, or when an unknown number flashes on your phone screen. Your hands, which once held so much strength, now tremble slightly as you hold envelopes that feel more like chains than pieces of paper. But hear me clearly today. Your financial channels were never meant to be a clogged drain, rusting under the weight of scarcity. You have lived like a prisoner inside a fortress of debt, constantly looking over your shoulder, terrified of losing your independence, terrified of becoming a burden to the children you raised with so much love and sacrifice. You have tried every strategy, you have trimmed every expense, and yet you feel as though you are walking up a steep mountain of sand, taking one step forward only to slide 2 steps back into the dark. The enemy whispered to your soul that this lack is your final destination, that you will spend the sunset of your life begging for crumbs from the tables of others. But I am the God who splits the Red Sea when there is no road. I did not bring you through decades of storms, protecting your faith and your tender heart, just to let you sink in the shallow waters of financial distress. The heavy yoke you are carrying on your shoulders this morning does not belong to you anymore. I am stepping into your boat, and with one spoken word, I am about to clear the blockages that have stopped the river of my abundance from washing over your home. Take a deep, slow breath, my child. The era of fighting for survival through your own fading strength is officially over. I know there have been days, and sometimes long, dark months, where you looked up at the ceiling in the middle of the night and whispered, "Father, have you forgotten me?" You watched as others seemed to prosper effortlessly, while you calculated every penny, trying to make an impossible equation balance. You felt a deep, silent ache, a fear that perhaps your faith was not strong enough to unlock the doors of heaven. You kept this struggle hidden, putting on a brave smile for your children and your friends, because your love and your quiet dignity would never allow you to become a burden to them. I saw every time you walked through the grocery store, silently putting items back on the shelf. I saw the quiet tears that fell when no one else was in the room, the moments you felt utterly invisible to the world. But my precious child, your current lack is not a punishment, and my silence was never a sign of abandonment. There is a profound spiritual truth that you must grasp today. The greatest miracles in my kingdom are often born at the very edge of nothingness. Think of the widow at Zarephath. When the prophet Elijah found her, she was gathering a few sticks to prepare one final, meager meal for herself and her son. She was fully prepared to eat it and surrender to despair. She had nothing left but a handful of flour and a few drops of oil at the bottom of a jar. In human eyes, it was the absolute end. It was the final hour. But my mathematics are not the mathematics of this world. What the world calls an ending, I call the perfect foundation for a miracle. When she chose to trust my word over her terrifying reality, when she opened her trembling hands instead of clenching them in fear, I caused that small jar to become an endless source. The flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry through the entire season of severe famine. I am looking at your empty jars right now, your dwindling savings, your fixed income, your unpaid bills that seem to grow taller each month. You may feel like you are at the very end of your resources, standing at the edge of a financial cliff with nowhere left to turn. But I am telling you today, this is the exact moment I am stepping in. The famine in your life is breaking. I am about to multiply the little you have left into an overflowing stream of provision. You will not become a burden. You will not be left to wither in your golden years. I am securing your future so completely that your latter days will be far more peaceful, independent, and abundantly blessed than your former days. I know the silent conversations you have with yourself when you review the past. You sit in your favorite chair, looking around at the life you have built, and suddenly a wave of deep, quiet regret washes over you. The enemy loves to sit beside you in those solitary moments, replaying a cruel highlight reel of every financial mistake you think you ever made. He whispers that if you had only saved a little more, trusted a little less, or made different choices decades ago, you would not be in this terrifying position today. You carry the heavy, jagged stones of guilt, believing that this season of hardship is a consequence you simply have to endure. You sigh heavily and think to yourself, I am too old to start over, and it is far too late to fix this. Listen to me very carefully, my beloved. The ledger the world keeps is written in cold, unforgiving ink, marking every deficit in red. But the ledger of heaven is washed entirely in grace. I am not a God who sits on high, calculating your past errors just to punish you in your golden years. I am the God of divine restoration. Remember the profound promise I spoke through the prophet Joel. I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the years of failed investments, the resources you generously poured into people who took advantage of you and never paid you back, the life savings that were drained by unexpected medical bills and sudden emergencies. I saw all of it. Not a single tear or lost penny slipped past my sovereign gaze. This debt you carry is not just printed on bank statements, it has woven itself into your physical body. Notice how your shoulders are constantly raised toward your ears in a state of permanent defense. Notice how your jaw is clenched even while you sleep, and how a dull, heavy ache settles in your lower back from carrying a worldly burden I never asked you to bear alone. Right now, in this very second, I want you to physically drop your shoulders, unclench your hands. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. You are gripping the steering wheel of a vehicle that is running out of gas, terrified of crashing when all I am asking you to do is slide over and hand the keys to me. I am stepping into your circumstances to cancel the invisible assignments of poverty, lack, and generational struggle that have chased your family line. The world's economy may be shifting, shaking, and filling the news with panic, but your true provision does not come from the government, the stock market, or a fixed retirement fund. Your provision comes directly from my throne. I am activating a season of unexpected, unexplainable favor over your life. A sudden turnaround is already in motion. Do not let the dark shadow of your past convince you that you are disqualified from the magnificent financial rescue I am orchestrating for your tomorrow. I hear the unspoken prayers you whisper when your mind travels to the days ahead. I know the secret ache in your heart when you look at your children and grandchildren. Your deepest, most fiercely guarded desire is to leave them a legacy of love and blessing, not a complicated web of unpaid invoices and financial burdens. Yet the enemy torments you with terrifying scenarios of sudden illness, unexpected repairs, or rising costs that could completely wipe out the fragile walls of your security. I see the way you unconsciously hold your breath every time you open a statement from the pharmacy or a medical bill. I see how you lower your gaze when your family talks about future plans, silently calculating whether you will even have enough to sustain your own basic needs. You have spent the last several years living in a constant, exhausting state of bracing for the next financial impact. But my beloved child, listen to the truth of my word today. My plans for you are for peace and not for disaster, to give you a future and a living hope. I did not design the autumn of your life to be a bitter, freezing winter of begging and dependence. I am Jehovah Jireh, the God who sees ahead and provides. Right now, I am actively dispatching a fortress of protection around your household. I am spiritually blocking the unexpected expenses, the sudden breakdowns, and the financial emergencies that the enemy intended to use to break your spirit and drain your remaining resources. I am closing the holes in your pockets that have caused your hard-earned money to slip away unseen. I am asking you to do something courageous today. Stop bracing for impact. I want you to physically lift your chin right now. Lift your head up from that posture of defeat. You are not an orphan left to fend for yourself in a harsh, unforgiving economy. You are a cherished child of the King of Kings, and your Father owns the wealth of 1,000 hills. Your future is not a fading ember slowly dying out in the dark. It is a rising dawn. I am arranging a sudden shift in your circumstances that will ensure you do not just survive these coming years, but that you truly flourish in safety. You are going to experience the profound, tear-filled joy of having your cup overflow once again. You will not only have exactly what you need to rest securely, but you will possess the quiet, dignified ability to be a blessing to others. The days of returning things to the shelf are ending. You are stepping into a season where you will give generously from the undeniable abundance I am pouring directly into your hands. I want you to examine the way you hold your hands when your mind wanders to your finances. Without even realizing it, your fingers naturally curl inward, your fists clench, and your knuckles turn white, and as if you are desperately trying to hold on to grains of sand that keep slipping through your fingers. This is the posture of survival. It is the physical reaction of a soul that has been deeply conditioned by the world to expect loss and disappointment. But my beloved child, there is a fundamental spiritual law you must embrace today. A clenched fist cannot receive anything new. I need you to gently open your palms right now. Look down at your open hands. The world tells you that empty hands mean poverty and failure. But in my kingdom, empty, open hands are the absolute prerequisite for a miracle. They are the ultimate posture of trust. When the Israelites wandered in the desolate wilderness, terrified of starving in a barren, unforgiving land, I did not drop a lifetime supply of food from the sky all at once. I sent them manna, fresh and crisp, every single morning. I commanded them to gather only what they needed for that specific day. Those who allowed the trauma of lack to rule them, those who secretly hoarded the bread because they were terrified I would forget them tomorrow, woke up to find that their hidden stash had rotted overnight. The lesson was never really about the food. It was about teaching a fearful heart the daily rhythm of absolute trust. You have been exhausting yourself mentally and physically, trying to stockpile certainty for a future you cannot control. And in doing so, you have allowed the fear of tomorrow to completely steal the peace of your today. I am calling you out of this wilderness of financial panic. The dull, constant tension you feel right behind your eyes, the one that pulses like a subtle alarm every time you have to make a financial decision, is the direct result of trying to be the savior of your own life. You were never meant to carry that heavy title. I am asking you to surrender the endless calculations when you finally release the desperate need to orchestrate your own rescue. You clear the stage for my supernatural intervention. I am actively aligning resources, conversations, and opportunities behind the scenes that you do not even know exist yet. An unexpected provision, a sudden refund, a debt miraculously wiped clean. Do not dismiss these as mere coincidences when they arrive. They are the physical manifestations of my grace finally landing into your open hands. Breathe in my peace right now and exhale your panic. The supply line of heaven is fully open over your life. I see the way you consciously avoid looking at the calendar as the end of the month approaches. Every passing day feels like the heavy ticking of a clock, counting down to obligations you are not entirely sure how to meet. Financial struggle is deeply isolating, my child. It thrives in the dark shadows of shame. You have convinced yourself that you are the only one in your circle walking through this specific, terrifying valley. You sit in the pew at church, or you gather with friends, nodding and smiling, while inside your stomach is tied in cold knots of anxiety. You have carried this secret entirely on your own because you come from a generation that fiercely values hard work, self-reliance, and quiet endurance. You would rather go without a warm meal or endure physical discomfort than admit to someone you love that your cupboards are running bare. But I need you to understand today that your human dignity is not tied to your bank account balance. Your infinite worth was settled on the cross long before you ever earned your first paycheck, bought your first home, or faced your first financial crisis. The enemy uses the fear of poverty to strip away your sense of self-worth, trying to make you feel small, discarded, and forgotten by a fast-paced society. He wants you to believe that because your material resources have diminished, your value as a person has diminished as well. I completely reject that lie over your life right now. You are royalty. You are a citizen of heaven, clothed in the righteousness of Christ, and I am fiercely protective of your dignity. I am about to send provisions through avenues that will require you to lay down your remaining pride. Listen to me. Sometimes my rescue does not look like a sudden, anonymous check in the mail. Sometimes my rescue comes through the extended hands of a neighbor, a sudden offer of help from a family member, or a community resource you never thought you would have to use. Do not let your fierce independence block the blessing I am trying to deliver to your doorstep. When Peter refused to let Jesus wash his tired feet out of misplaced pride, he almost missed the intimacy of the blessing. Allow me to wash your tired feet. Allow me to serve you through the kindness of others. When you receive with a humble and grateful heart, you are not showing weakness or failure. You are actively participating in the beautiful miracle of my grace. The isolation is breaking today. You are fully seen, you are profoundly valued, and a rich, abundant table is being prepared for you in the presence of your fears. I want to speak now about the physical toll this silent battle has taken on your body. You wake up in the mornings, and before your feet even touch the floor, a heavy wave of exhaustion washes over you. You feel an aching in your joints, a stiffness in your neck, and a deep weariness in your bones that you quickly dismiss as just another unavoidable symptom of growing older. But my precious child, I am the Creator who knit you together, and I know the exact origin of your pain. Much of the physical weariness you carry is not simply the result of passing years. It is the physical manifestation of carrying a spiritual and mental load that was never meant for your aging shoulders. Every time you lie awake at 3 a.m. calculating bills, fearing a sudden medical diagnosis, or worrying about how you will afford care if your health suddenly fails, your body absorbs that terror. Your heart beats a little faster. Your stomach ties itself into tight knots, and your nervous system stays locked in a state of constant, exhausting defense. The enemy wants you to believe that your body is rapidly failing you, that your physical decline will inevitably mirror your financial struggles, eventually leaving you helpless, bedridden, and entirely dependent on others. He uses the deep, paralyzing fear of failing health to steal whatever joy you have left in the present moment. But I am Jehovah Rapha, the Lord your healer. Today, I am not only breaking the invisible chains of your financial captivity, but I am directly addressing the physical and mental exhaustion that has accompanied it. As the heavy yoke of financial terror is lifted from your life, you are going to feel a literal, physical lightness return to your limbs. The chronic, lingering aches born from years of chronic stress are going to gradually subside. I am actively sending a wave of divine, restorative peace back into your nights. When you close your eyes, you will no longer toss and turn with terrifying visions of unpaid bills or sudden medical emergencies. You will sleep the deep, untroubled sleep of a beloved child who knows their father is standing guard at the door. I am speaking vitality back into your cells right now. Do not accept the cruel lie that your best, most vibrant days are forever behind you. My word promises that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. I am supernaturally infusing your body with the stamina and clarity you need to actually enjoy the abundant harvest I am preparing for you. Take a deep, intentional breath right now. Feel my healing peace wash over your tired mind, travel down your tense spine, and settle into your weary bones. The season of living in physical and emotional survival mode is ending. You are entering a season of profound, holistic restoration. I want to speak to the deepest, most tender ache in your soul right now, the prayers you have prayed for years, perhaps even decades, that seem to have vanished into an empty, silent sky. I know there are moments when you sit by the window, staring out into the distance, and a long, heavy sigh escapes your lips. It is the sigh of a heart that is completely tired of hoping. I see the quiet resignation in your eyes, the way you have slowly lowered your expectations, secretly convincing yourself that perhaps this specific miracle was simply not meant for you. The enemy has sat beside you in that deafening silence, whispering the cruelest lie of all, that I simply do not care, that your voice is too small to be heard in the vastness of eternity, or worse, that you are somehow being punished for your past. But my precious child, you must understand the holy nature of my silence. My silence has never been a sign of my absence, nor is it a rejection of your tearful pleas. Think of a tiny seed planted deep within the dark, heavy soil. For weeks, sometimes months, there is absolutely no visible sign of life on the surface. The ground looks barren, cold, and utterly unchanged. If the farmer were to dig up the dirt every single day just to check if the seed was growing, his impatience would destroy the very life that was secretly forming in the dark. The seed must break open in the quiet isolation of the earth. Its roots must push aggressively deep into the ground, anchoring themselves completely, long before the first green shoot ever breaks through the surface and reaches the sunlight. You have been living in the dark soil of waiting. You thought you were buried, forgotten under the weight of passing years and fading youth. But my beloved, you were not buried, you were planted. I have used this long, painful season of silence to force your spiritual roots to grow deeper than they ever could have in the bright sunlight of easy times. I have been quietly preparing your character, fortifying your faith, and expanding your capacity to hold the massive, generational blessing I have ordained for you. If I had answered that prayer the very first time you asked, the premature weight of the blessing might have crushed you, or it might have been placed into circumstances that were not yet ready to protect it. Do not mistake the quietness of your current winter for the death of your dream. I am the Lord of the harvest, and my timing is absolutely flawless. The deep root system has finally been established. The unseen, difficult work in the dark is now complete. I am actively shifting the spiritual seasons over your life right now. The frozen ground of your waiting is thawing. You are about to see the sudden, undeniable, beautiful manifestation of the very things you thought I had ignored. Lift your head and keep your eyes open, my child, because the silence of heaven is about to be broken by the joyful, overwhelming sound of your answered prayers. I want to take a walk with you through the rooms of your home right now. For far too long, the atmosphere inside your very own walls has felt thick with an unspoken, suffocating anxiety. You walk past the kitchen counter where the mail silently piles up, and a sudden heavy dread settles deep within your chest. You sit in your living room, the space that was designed to be your ultimate sanctuary of rest, but instead it has begun to feel like a stressful waiting room for bad news. This is the home where you have lived your life, where you have cooked countless meals, where you have loved your family and sheltered them from the storms of the world. Yet the enemy wants to tarnish all those beautiful, sacred memories with the dark stain of your present financial panic. He has treated your home as his own personal playground, wandering through your quiet hallways, whispering terrifying lies into the empty corners of your house. He tells you that you will eventually lose this place. He whispers that you will not be able to afford the basic upkeep, that the roof will leak, the foundation will crack, the appliances will fail, and you will be left entirely exposed to the cold, unforgiving elements of a ruthless economy. He wants you to look at your dining table and only see the unpaid bills scattered across it, completely forgetting the beautiful feasts of love and fellowship that were once shared there. But listen to the absolute authority in my voice today. I am declaring your home a fortress of divine peace. I am sweeping through every single room, every hallway, and every quiet corner, violently driving out the heavy, oppressive spirit of financial terror. The accuser, who has stood at your door, counting your worldly debts and demanding his payment in the currency of your joy and your sleep, has just been served an eviction notice from the high courts of heaven. His lying voice is being permanently silenced over your property. I did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a completely sound mind. The four walls that surround you right now are not a prison of debt. They are a sacred sanctuary of my enduring grace. I am commanding a supernatural, invisible shield over your property, your shelter, and your daily possessions. Listen closely to this promise. The things that normally break down will supernaturally endure. I am stretching the lifespan of your vehicle, your furnace, and your home's foundation. I am holding them together by the very word of my power, specifically to protect your remaining resources while your massive financial turnaround fully manifests. I want you to walk through your house today, lift your hands, and confidently declare aloud that your home belongs to me. When the phone rings, you will no longer jump with a racing heart. When the mail arrives, you will open it with a calm, steady hand, knowing with absolute certainty that the God of the universe is actively managing your accounts. Your home is returning to exactly what it was always meant to be, a place of warmth, quiet rest, and impenetrable safety. I want to speak to you about the invisible chains that have bound your family line for generations. Long before you even earned your first dollar, you were taught the heavy, fearful language of scarcity. You grew up watching the people you loved struggle, scrape by, and live under the constant dark cloud of not enough. Without even realizing it, you inherited a mindset that says financial hardship is simply your unavoidable lot in life. You hear it in your own vocabulary today. When you speak about your future, you use words of limitation, like fixed income, just getting by, and barely surviving. I see the way you swallow hard, feeling a familiar tight knot form in your throat every single time you are forced to say the words, "I cannot afford it." My beloved child, remember the children of Israel. I brought them out of the physical chains of Egypt in a single miraculous day. But they spent 40 years wandering in a dry wilderness because their minds were still completely enslaved to the trauma of their poverty. I do not want you to spend the rest of your golden years wandering in a financial desert of your own making, simply because you are used to the struggle. Today, I am actively breaking the generational curse of lack that has attached itself to your bloodline, the exhausting cycle of endless debt, of borrowing just to survive, and of always bracing for the next financial blow. It stops right here, right now, with you. I am calling you to drastically change the way you speak about your future. My word tells you that life and death are in the power of the tongue. When you continuously speak panic and limitation over your finances, you are handing the enemy a key to your peace. Starting today, I want you to intentionally change your vocabulary. When the news tells you that the economy is failing and inflation is rising, I want you to stand in the middle of your living room and declare aloud that your future is secure because your economy is dictated by heaven, not by the world. The promise I placed over your life that the debt is cancelled and is not just a comforting metaphor. It is a spiritual decree that is already shifting the physical elements of your reality. I am transitioning your family line from a lineage of borrowing to a lineage of divine stewardship. You will not pass down a heavy legacy of financial panic to your children and grandchildren. You are going to leave them an undeniable testimony of supernatural provision and overflowing peace. The heavy, tattered coat of poverty you have worn for decades is being completely removed from your shoulders today. Step out of the shadows of your past, my child, and begin to walk in the absolute, unshakable security of my provision. I want to speak to you about a completely different kind of debt today. Not the financial debt that you owe to the world, but the heavy emotional debt that you feel others owe to you. I know there are specific names and faces that, when they cross your mind, immediately cause a sudden, sharp tightness in your chest and a familiar heat to rise in your face. These are the people who took advantage of your generous nature, the family members who borrowed your hard-earned money and never bothered to return it, the former partners or institutions that deceived you, making promises to protect your investments, only to leave you standing empty-handed in the cold. You have carried this burning, jagged stone of injustice inside your heart for years, perhaps even decades. The enemy has convinced you that if you let this anger go, if you stop demanding what was stolen from you, you are somehow validating their cruelty and accepting defeat. But my precious child, holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to suffer. It is an invisible, spiritual blockage in your own pipeline of blessing. I see the nights you lie awake, staring at the shadows on your ceiling, endlessly replaying those old conversations. I see how you construct arguments in your mind, demanding a justice and an apology that never seems to arrive. Look at what this hidden bitterness has done to you physically. It has stolen the gentle, joyful light from your eyes and replaced it with a hardened, guarded shield. It causes your stomach to churn with acid and your shoulders to remain permanently rigid. Today, I am asking you to do something that requires immense, supernatural courage. I'm asking you to officially cancel their debt in the courtroom of your heart. I want you to forgive them. Not because their actions were right, and not because they have suddenly earned your pardon, but because you desperately deserve to live your golden years in absolute peace. When you release them from your personal grip of resentment, you are not giving up. You are handing the judge's gavel over to me. I am the righteous judge. My vindication and my divine restoration are far greater, far more satisfying than any fragile apology they could ever offer you. I want you to take a deep physical breath in this moment. As you exhale, I want you to intentionally release those names. Let them fall from your hands. The exact moment you clear this bitter, rusting wreckage from your soul, you create massive space for the unprecedented harvest I am bringing. The financial and emotional resources that were delayed by your own walls of resentment are going to flood into your life. You will soon look back at those who wronged you, not with burning anger, but with a quiet, liberated peace, knowing with absolute certainty that whatever they took from you, I have already replaced 100-fold. I want to speak to a deeply hidden fear that shadows your heart, a fear that goes even deeper than the panic of unpaid bills. It is the terrifying fear of becoming invisible. I see the way you walk through crowded grocery stores or sit in family gatherings, feeling as though the fast-paced, loud world is simply rushing right past you. You have unconsciously begun to take smaller steps, physically and mentally shrinking yourself, almost apologizing for taking up space. When financial lack strips away your worldly resources, society cruelly suggests that your usefulness has expired. The enemy leans in close and whispers that your best, most productive chapters are already written, and that all you have left to do is quietly fade into the background. But my beloved child, look at Caleb in the scriptures. After enduring decades of wandering in a harsh wilderness, watching an entire generation pass away, Caleb did not reach his golden years and ask for a quiet, obscure corner to simply exist until all his time was up. At 85 years old, standing in the fullness of his seasoned faith, he looked at the hardest, most formidable territory and boldly declared, "Give me this mountain." His physical age was not a liability. It was the indisputable proof of his survival, his strength, and his unwavering trust in my promises. I did not bring you through decades of profound loss, silent tears, and financial survival just to let you fade quietly into the shadows of history. The massive financial rescue I'm releasing over your life right now is not merely about clearing a bank ledger so you can survive your final years in quiet obscurity. That is far too small of a dream for the God of the universe. I am canceling your debt to completely free your mind from the crushing weight of survival so that you can finally step into your ultimate spiritual purpose. I need your seasoned wisdom. I need the depth of your faith. There is a younger generation desperately drowning in anxiety and chaos, and they need the steady, calming light of someone who has weathered the storms and proven that I am faithful. I want you to physically straighten your spine right now. Lift your chest. Stop bowing your head to a culture that mistakenly worships youth and discards wisdom. Your white hair is a crown of glory, and the lines on your face are the beautiful testament of a warrior who has not given up. You are stepping into a season of immense spiritual authority. The resources I am placing into your hands will not only secure your own peace, but they will become the tools you use to build my kingdom and bless others. Do not entertain the lie that you are finished. The intermission is over, the financial chains are shattered, and your most glorious, impactful chapter is just beginning to unfold. I know exactly what your logical mind is doing right now as you listen to these promises. You have unconsciously folded your arms tightly across your chest, creating a physical barricade to guard your heart against the terrifying vulnerability of hoping again. You are mentally running the numbers, looking at the hard, cold reality of a fixed income, a rigid monthly budget, and a worldly economy that seems to be spiraling out of control. A quiet, cynical whisper echoes in your thoughts. This sounds beautiful, but how is it practically possible? Bills do not pay themselves, and financial miracles like this do not happen to ordinary, forgotten people like me. My precious child, I am not angry at your skepticism. I see right through it. I know your doubt is not born out of a rebellious spirit. It is a thick, heavy armor you have slowly forged out of decades of profound disappointment, unmet expectations, and exhausted survival. You have learned to rely only on what your two hands can produce and what your earthly eyes can see. But I want to remind you of a profound moment with my servant Peter. When the worldly authorities demanded a tax payment that Peter did not have, Jesus did not instruct him to go find a second job, nor did he ask for a loan from the wealthy elite. He told Peter to go to the sea, cast a line, and open the mouth of the very first fish he caught. Inside that completely unexpected, entirely illogical place was the exact coin needed to pay the debt in full. Why did I provide in such an unusual way? To permanently shatter the illusion that heaven is limited by the strict, predictable rules of earthly economics. You are exhausting yourself trying to figure out the how, but I am only asking you to deeply trust the who. You are limiting my rescue to the few natural avenues you can currently see: a monthly pension, a social security check, or a dwindling savings account. But I have vast storehouses of wealth and miraculous avenues of provision that your human mind cannot even begin to fathom. I am actively moving upon the hearts of decision makers you have never met. I am shifting paperwork on desks you cannot see. I am breathing unprecedented favor over medical bills, housing applications, and institutional debts that have threatened your peace. I am telling you today to prepare for the coin in the fish's mouth moments in your own life. Be ready for the completely unexpected refund, the sudden and unexplainable debt cancellation, the overlooked asset, or the unmerited favor from a total stranger. I want you to literally uncross your arms right now. Drop that physical barrier of cynicism. Release the desperate, exhausting need to solve the mathematical equation of your survival. The God who commands the wind and the waves, the God who tells the fish exactly where to swim, is actively commanding the resources of this earth to align with your absolute deliverance. Do not let the heavy logic of the world blind you to the miraculous, unstoppable reality of my provision. I want to speak to the overwhelming urge you have felt lately to simply give up. I see the moments when you sit at the edge of your bed, your head resting heavily in your hands, and you whisper into the quiet room, "I just cannot do this anymore. I am too tired to keep fighting." You feel like a runner in the final mile of a grueling marathon, your muscles aching, your lungs burning, entirely convinced that your legs cannot take another single step. The world tells you that this is the end of your rope, but I am telling you today that you have simply reached the hem of my garment. You are reaching out in your final ounce of human strength, and that is exactly the place where my divine power is made absolutely perfect. Notice how your breathing has become shallow in recent days. You have been taking quick, anxious breaths, holding tension directly in your chest, as if the very air around you is running out. This is the physical symptom of a spirit under intense, desperate attack. The enemy is fighting you the hardest right now because he knows your deliverance is strictly imminent. He always sends the loudest, most terrifying winds just seconds before the sea completely calms. He is desperately trying to get you to abandon your post, to surrender your faith, and to accept defeat right at the finish line, because he can already see the massive provision that is on its way to you. But I need you to understand the spiritual reality of your exhaustion. The extreme fatigue you are experiencing right now is not the fatigue of a dying dream or a failing life. It is the deep, agonizing exhaustion of the final push before a miraculous birth. You are in the intense transition phase of your spiritual delivery. The debt cancellation, the financial rescue, the restoration of your independence, it is crowning. I am holding you up by your right hand. I have placed a rod of divine iron in your spine. You will not break under this pressure. You will not collapse in this final hour. I am transitioning your identity from a weary survivor to an overflowing provider. The very family members who silently watched you struggle, those who worried about your future, will soon watch you flourish with an undeniable, unexplainable radiance. They will know without a single shadow of a doubt that it was the hand of the Almighty God that rescued you. Your financial and emotional turnaround is going to become the unshakable anchor that saves your children and your grandchildren from their own future storms. You are not fading away into the background, my beloved child. You are stepping out of the dark wilderness and directly into the most glorious, illuminated chapter of your entire life. Hold the line just a little longer. The dawn is already breaking. I want you to close your eyes for a moment as we reach the end of this profound conversation. You have stayed and listened to my voice today because your spirit instantly recognized the truth it has been starving for. The long, brutal winter of your financial and emotional drought is officially over. Think about the heavy armor you have worn for decades, the exhausting armor of survival, of constant calculation, of fiercely defending yourself against an economy and a world that felt so cold and unpredictable. My precious child, it is time to finally take it off. Let it drop to the floor. You do not need that heavy armor in the beautiful, abundant season you are stepping into right now. Hear my final, unbreakable decree over your life today. The debt is entirely cancelled. The spiritual assignments of lack and poverty are permanently shattered. The future that you looked at with such deep, quiet terror is actually a horizon, glowing brilliantly with my unmerited, unstoppable favor. You are going to wake up in the days to come and experience a profound, unexplainable lightness in your chest. The phone calls that used to bring a sudden rush of panic will soon bring news of divine resolution. The mailboxes that used to bring anxiety will bring tangible, undeniable evidence of my miraculous provision. I am completely restoring your laugh, not the polite, fragile smile you have used to hide your secret pain from the world, but the deep, resonant, joyous laughter of a soul that has been permanently set free. The years of quiet weeping in the dark are being replaced by mornings of overwhelming rejoicing. Your children and grandchildren will see it. Your friends will notice the radiant, peaceful shift in your very countenance. You are about to become a living, breathing monument to my faithfulness, a testament that I do not abandon my children in their autumn years. Whenever the enemy tries to whisper his old tired lies of poverty and abandonment, you will simply smile because you will hold the indisputable proof of my rescue in your own two hands. So tonight, my beloved child, when you lay your heavy head upon your pillow, I do not want you to pray another desperate tear-soaked prayer for survival. You do not have to beg me anymore. I want you to take one long, deep breath and simply whisper, "Thank you, Father." Go to sleep in absolute, uninterrupted peace. Let your weary body heal. Let your anxious mind finally rest. I have already dispatched my angels to guard your home, your health, and your resources. I'm holding your tomorrow, your finances, your legacy, and your tender heart safely in the palm of my sovereign hand. The long battle is over. You are deeply loved, you are fiercely protected, and your beautiful future is forever secure.